Okay, so you've owned this plant since 1997?
98.
98.
June 1st, 98.
And that's when Sony decided to sell it.
Yeah.
And do you think they would have closed, just shut it down and liquidated it if you hadn't come along and
Yeah, there were
made an
three
offer?
plants, and all the plants didn't work out. So they already decided to stop. And actually, almost until the last minute, when they found out that they couldn't get a right supplier for their records they need themselves for their own labels, we sat around a table, and even the day they shut down, I think it was somewhere in March, we didn't have a deal. And then a week later we started, and then officially June 1st it was record industry.
And so what's your background? Where'd you come from to get into this crazy business?
It's more like a hobby. My actual profession is I'm a computer programmer, but I was DJing already, working with records when I was 12
Right.
or 13, having
Right.
a little pirate radio station around Amsterdam and all this kind of stuff. And later on, I got into some kind of artist management business where some DJs asked me to do their business.
I see.
And let's say just a little bit later, they said, "Hey, can't we start our own label?"
Yeah.
And we started our own label, and we were pressing the vinyl in this factory.
So you have a business background as well as a computer technical kind of background.
Yeah, I think I'm more technical than, let's say, marketing, sales-wise. I'm not, but
Yeah, but running a business. Now, how did you, it's not my business, but I'll ask you anyway, you don't have to answer if you don't.
Right.
How did you finance this, buying this?
let's say when we started, Sony helped us out. So we had a pretty good deal, and they were willing to finance the takeover by having us press record for them.
Wow.
So that was the initial setup. Later on, you need some cash to finance your customers, because customers need a long payment term,
Right.
and while suppliers don't want that.
Right.
So we have a bank behind us, which is willing to give us credit, which is fine.
And so has this been successful? Is this a profit-making enterprise?
Let's say the initial few years, business was going up. We made some good money. We didn't spend it, and that was good, because afterwards we needed the money, because then things went down.
Right.
A lot of our customers fell off.
Is that because of the economic downturn or before that?
I think before that already. I think it was
Yeah.
just the downfall in DJs mainly
Right.
going over to digital.
Right.
The volumes were shrinking. The number of record plants were shrinking too, but still there wasn't enough. So
When you said there were 3 plants that failed, was the 3 plants in the Netherlands owned by other people? Maybe. You said there were 3 plants, and when I said Sony sold this to you,
yes, so 3 plans.
I see.
Plans to. They had a plan. Sorry, to have a management buyout.
Oh, 3 plans.
Plans. Sorry,
Okay.
plans. Yes.
So management buyout,
Management buyout. Run it in this building,
right?
or move it to the new building.
Oh, by IKEA, where the IKEA is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, and they worked it out, and they said, we're not going to do it.
Right.
So because, like all the other majors, they wanted to get rid of vinyl. They
Right.
wanted to go to the CD. The CD was it. So they didn't put a lot of energy in it. I think the plans were written
Right.
in a couple of hours, and say, okay, it's not going to work. Get rid of it.
Right. Okay. And so for a while there, as you're saying, you had some difficulties because business was falling off from the DJ dance side of things, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Let's say there was still demand, but let's say companies like Sony Music and all the other majors, they were not really into the dance music. So their figures did show that there wasn't a lot of business anymore in a few years, and that was correct. So their decision to move out, I think, from their point of view, was the right
Made
one.
sense.
Made
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Because actually they were pressing vinyl only for their own artists, which didn't need a lot of vinyl anymore.
Right.
So therefore, we could press our vinyl over here.
For
because-
anybody.
Just because, even when it was Sony Music, because they needed some volume to keep the place running. I think in '98 they only needed about 1 million, maybe 1.5 million units for their own needs in '98, '97.
Right.
So on top of that, they added some other customers like ours.
And that's for how big a market?
In that time.
Yeah, 1.5 million records sold where? Europe?
Yeah, just for Europe.
Just for Europe.
That was what Sony needed for their own labels back then.
Is it bigger now? The numbers needed?
I don't know, because we do some bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But the actual, I think
There are other places doing it now. I mean, there are other.
they press everywhere
Yeah,
when they want.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it will be a bit the same again. Maybe a bit bigger even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The funny thing is now, what I see is that they don't know what to do with it. Because when we have initial release for Sony, but for Universal, they start up, let's say, 5,000. And we don't even finish the job, and they already do another 5,000.
Right.
And another 2. And another 2. So it's, I think they see what's happening now with vinyl, and this is, I
Bigger
think,
than they expect.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I see that from everybody. It's just bigger than they expect.
Yes.
And, people that are naysayers, they go, oh, sure, they sell, 500 copies and that's it. No, that's not true at all. No. And unlikely titles. I mean, that you were pressing up the soundtrack to, whatever that movie is with the vampires. that's an old movie already.
Yeah.
And people are still buying the soundtrack on vinyl. That's just like difficult to understand.
Yeah, I think one of the ones which are selling really well, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
That one is a classic.
Yeah.
It's still selling.
And people
keeps
want
selling.
it on the record. Because those people are hipsters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's something because of the picture, the movies in front of it. It's,
Right.
saw the movies, like, great.
Right. It's the thing they
bringing
the
them
thing.
back to the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think of what else I might want to ask you. So, you operate a full project. They can do everything here, and it was always that way, right? Sony always, when they had it, they did their own printing. They did, so it was self-sufficient essentially.
Yes, actually, this was built once, or they took it over just to run their own production. I've got a nice example here of what they did in these years, in this factory. To mark manufacturing of 50 million sound carriers only in '98.
Sound carriers would include vinyl,
7-inch. No, just 7-inch and 12-inch. Because
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's funny, because I would think of, well, it's 80, sure, before CDs. Right, of course, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, that was definitely because they did, I think, the small CDs when they came up
Right.
for a few weeks, and then they stopped and everything was shut down because, no, they had 48 12-inch presses, 24 7-inch presses.
Wow.
They were running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Wow.
We were just talking about, because I just got a nice pile of magazines which were for the staff of CBS and Sony back in the 80s. And we're just going through them, and we saw some pictures of machines without the sleeving unit.
Right.
And when they started here, they were just piled up like in most other plants. And there were about 80 ladies all day.
Stuff it.
So they did 180 to 220,000 records a day.
Wow.
Yeah. There was
Now,
a
what
truck
happened to
full.
those presses? They're just junked?
Where the 7-inch presses went, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I still have another 12 presses waiting. They sold them. So when production went down, they moved 24 out. They sold them. This is the part where the glue and folding machines are now. And I found out only a half year after I bought the place that they didn't scrap them, which somebody told me, but they were just selling them to somebody or a company who was willing to buy them from them. So I met up and I bought these presses. So they need to have some extras, transport, I need some extruders, but when I want to, with a bit of energy, I should be able to run them again.
Wow, that's great. That's
Yeah.
good news. Because everybody's worried about pressing capacity. If this keeps growing,
Yeah.
at some point it's going to hit. So my idea, I'm not an engineer, but I was thinking, why can't somebody invent a modern press using composite material? If they could fly a plane with wings made out of carbon fiber, why couldn't they make a press out of carbon fiber? And instead of using these giant boilers to melt the pellets, what about microwaves? I mean,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
for
We tried to do some stuff, but the thing is that the way a record is produced the material which is needed for that. It's hard to find another material which has the same, how do you say this?
Malleability.
Yeah, something like that, and which sounds okay, which you can melt down, put a groove in. I think you need the temperatures and the pressure.
Everything. Yeah, everything. Well, that would stay the same.
Yes.
But you would just, instead of having these giant, heavy metal machines, you'd have a modern, efficient thing made out of composite materials. You'd still have a hydraulic press.
They did some trials, I think in the 80s, where they did the same way they make the CDs, injection molding.
Injection molding, yeah.
They tried to make 7 inches like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and I think they succeeded. I think it was in France.
Uh-huh.
But for 12-inch, it's too big, so they couldn't get the grooves filled up.
Right.
So I think there were some experiments doing that, but we tried to find another way to melt it down.
Right.
But the problem is, when you want to melt it, you need to cool it down again, and to do that in a different way we do now, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every step towards new technology we try to do here. You've seen the galvanics running the machines not on the old in the old way, but even run it with a computer. You can control stuff better. You can check temperatures better.
Sure.
We do that. We try to do that. We put a lot of money and we invest in a lot of energy in that.
I mean, you'd think you could get a college to do, do a project.
Yes.
See what they can come up with.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know.
We think about it, but every time we think about, let's say, trying to find out a way or another material, we come back to the same material.
Yeah, I guess.
So-
Yeah.
And it's mainly the noise factor, and that's already a problem now with the current PVC,
Yeah.
where the ingredients change, the recipe change. Yeah, let's say, I think we're stuck to the way we're doing them now.
Okay, so now people should know that you also have a record label that you're a part owner of, Music on Vinyl,
Correct.
and you license titles from major labels.
Correct.
So you do everything. You'll get files or tapes cut here, press here, package here, that you print up, and that's distributed through Europe. That's where you're licensed to do that.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that business is good.
Yes, great. Yeah. I was looking for a few years ago. I was looking for a way to fill up the factory, because as volumes went down, I know there was demand for the old most of the back catalog
Right.
stuff. So I finally met up with a company called Bertus. They are a very big distribution facility in more into the south of Holland. So and we joined up, and they take care of sales, distribution, stocking, and we press the vinyl. And I think, let's say up to now it was a very good idea.
Yeah, sounds like you got the right the titles that'll be selling forever.
Yeah,
essentially.
we do. We have very nice wish lists, which we give them to the companies who have the rights, and then slowly but surely we're getting.
Is there anything that you can do as a pressing plant owner to encourage young people to get into this, to encourage them to go buy a turntable and listen to vinyl, or is that happening by itself at this point?
Let's say, as we press mainly for the owners of the rights, we are not doing real marketing like that. We don't deal with consumers.
Right.
If there is a way, because we have so much media attention. Every year we're on national television.
Right.
We had a program in which little children get explanation. It's shown how the record is pressed.
Right.
So
That's
all kind of tricks.
yeah.
So there are ways, of course, where we can help the media out. We will. But I think what you see now is young people are going to exhibitions, big ones, over big fairs. I mean, we've got 2 very big fairs in Utrecht. I think they're the biggest one in the world.
Hi-fi shows or
No,
record?
Record fair.
Yeah. When are those?
They're in Utrecht, in the center of Holland, in a very big exhibition hall.
What time of year is that?
That's in April one, and there's one in November again.
Yeah, I should go to one of those.
Yeah, let's say maybe when we would talk about, because in November we will publish the book on this fair.
Yeah.
We will have a little stand showing it to people. So it might be a good idea to get you over to because I think you love it there. It's amazing.
I would want to buy records.
Yeah. That's it.